What's up, guys?
We're talking about homeschool and kids and bandwidth.
Oh, man. That's fun, huh?
You got the tap working today?
I do. If we're going to talk about myself, I'm going to need to get drunk.
I like it. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. That didn't take long. Mike and I thought we were going to have to use some kind of cheesy joke to break the ice, and you got the solution right there in your hand.
There you go.
Is that a stout? What do you got there?
It's Dan. You know Dan Kramer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our beer guy. His one job here is to get all our beer, and he's a porter guy. So he insisted we get a porter.
I couldn't remember exactly where, and I want to say we might have met at Mill Pond, but maybe we met before Mill Pond, but it seems like a long time ago. So I don't know if you can think about what year Mill Pond was, and that's probably the year you and I met.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking the same exact thing the other day. I was like, where did I meet Mike? I don't even, after we had talked the other day, I was like, I cannot remember either. And we must have had an intro from somebody. And then you had helped me list some stuff here at Jefferson, but I can't remember the original intro, which is, I'm usually good at that.
Get you guys one of those genealogy sites for networking to figure out where you trace your roots back.
Yeah, man, I love that. I always think about creating a system that did that. That's what we do here at Common Spaces. We try to connect people, and then we always want data behind, to prove that our stuff works. It'd be cool if we could always follow people around and watch them interact, little dots on a screen. You're like, hey, you came from here, and bam.
Yeah, they have that. It's called contact tracing, Troy.
Exactly. Oh, you're right. The data's there. I just need a subpoena for that. I have that data.
Pete, it reminds me of the spider concept, right? I mean, it's a similar idea of how you connect those dots, and it's almost like the game of telephone or the 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon, all those things. But I would love to be able to try to trace it back to figure out how and what year you and I met. But anyways, I feel like we've been friends for a really long time. And when we met, you were just getting started, I think, downtown. And fast forward to 2020, and you've got quite the little empire going on. So I can't wait to talk about that a little bit today. And then, dial it back even further of just, Roscoe, New York, and your upbringing, your family life, and things of that nature. And let's just see where it goes.
But our time of the day, definitely. So we had a conversation the other day, just kind of touching on your history. And it sounds like, to me, you're a self-made man in terms of, hey, I have this idea to do something, and it came from a trailer park. And then it morphed into a business idea that then morphed into a evolving real estate career that now lands you here in Common Space in downtown Syracuse. And you have all the opportunity in the world on this call to fill in the dots between the trailer park and Common Space.
Yeah, first of all, nobody's self-made, man. I'm made by some good people around me, parents, and where I grew up was crazy, helpful, the small town in the Catskills, about putting me in the right direction. And I guess out of that cocoon, I morphed into an ambitious young person who I'm no longer. I'm no longer that ambitious. But back in the day, in my 20s, early 20s, I was gung-ho and wanted to conquer the world. And I went to school to be a computer engineer at SU, actually, just because it was right around the internet boom of 1996. Went to SU, did all right, did well, and got a good job at Lockheed Martin, Philadelphia. But basically just never loved the corporate America scene. I did like it for a little while, but it's I always knew I wanted to do my own thing.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah, go.
So you blew by something I want to know about.
I'll get this done in 10 minutes. We'll be all set.
Roscoe, New York.
Yeah.
So I'm from a small town, so it's always a competition, right? We had Jeff Knaus on the other day. The competition is, who had the smaller graduating class. So what was your number out of Roscoe, New York?
24.
Wow.
Yep, I got you. We were talking.
You win.
Was there more than one room?
There was more than one room. It was one building, K through 12. I think there was 300 or 400 kids in the whole K through 12. No regrets. It's a cool place. A lot of the stuff I do around community is based out of the good stuff that came from that place.
So in my hometown, what it's known for is something called the Barn Festival, right? So it's like one weekend a year, everybody and their brother from all of central New York and New England pours into the main street of Remsen, and they parade down the street and look at a bunch of wreaths and dried flowers and, you know, wood carvings. And so what does Roscoe have?
The Trout Parade. We are Trout Town, USA. It is on the Beaver Kill River, so fishing is huge.
Are you a fisherman?
I'd like to be. I used to be.
Fly, or what's your flavor?
Fly would be my choice. Or I live in Cas now, so it doesn't really matter. Just anything that I can sit out there and not think, or just quiet time, I'll do it. Right. I have 2 older brothers and a sister. My 2 brothers live there. My parents live there still, and my sister lives up here in Clay. Mike, what's your parade that you had in your town?
We didn't have the parade in DeWitt, but we had the pancake breakfast. That was a big deal. The Rotary Club, that was where you went every year, and I, until COVID, I was there last, spring of 19? Yeah. You go over there in the morning, you see about 100 people that you grew up with. I worked at it when I was a kid. That was our parade. Manlius had a parade, Fayetteville had a parade, DeWitt did not have a parade.
That's cool.
Pancake Day.
So all kidding aside, Troy, I mentioned the trailer park, and I didn't mean it to come off in an offensive way. It was more of, I loved the story that you told me about, hey, I bought this little trailer, I turned it over, I flipped it, and then it got me kind of engaged. And then, you mentioned, a lot of the stuff that you learned was just, you watched a video on YouTube and learned how to do it, and then applied those skills to be able to continue to do that. So I was just wondering if you kind of share a little bit about that experience and that part of your life.
Yeah. So the getting out of the day job thing, I had a decent job but didn't have any money basically. So I was trying to get into real estate. Somehow I got the real estate bug, watching like some late night infomercials or something, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, baby.
But I was 22 or something like that, and I was looking around Philly. I was living in Philly, and I was looking around there like, man, I'd love to buy some real estate. I don't have any money. How do I do this? And all these guys are claiming you can do it with no money down. So I was like, that's me. My now wife was going to law school up at Syracuse, and I started looking back here, and like, maybe I'd move back here, and up here you could buy a lake house for like $100,000. Down in Philly, like 400 will get you a townhouse. So I was like hooked basically to come back here just to buy real estate. Came back here and tried to figure out like, all right, what can I buy? And with no money, I started going to like a real estate club that this elderly guy ran out of like a Denny's. It just met a lot of awesome people doing really cool stuff locally. Like a real estate investing networking group. There's just a bunch of people doing stuff locally, and I got introduced to this guy that he had a mobile home. He just wanted to get rid of it. He said, I'll give it to you for $500. And I was like, all right, that's about what I have. And so I bought this trailer for $500. Basically fixed it up just like you would a house, like new paint, new carpet, new kitchen cabinets, new bathrooms, tiled everything. This was like, pre good YouTube videos, but Googled everything, like how to tile a bathroom, how to sheetrock, and learned all this stuff, and then fixed it all up by myself at nights and weekends in 3 weeks, and then sold it for, in my day, huge profit of like $8,000, cash in like 3 weeks. So I was like, holy shit, this stuff works. I remember like when I did this, I was like nauseous, like almost throwing up, almost staying up nights, like, oh my God, I have $1,200 on mine. It was like extremely stressful. It's funny, I still have the same stress right today, but it's just
a few more zeros.
Doesn't change.
So wait, your now wife was your girlfriend, fiance at this point?
Girlfriend. We grew up together in Roscoe, actually. So there's that. Now wife. Yeah. So she went to law school, but now she stays at home with the little guys because that's more fun. I don't blame her.
And how many of those are there?
There's 2, 8 and 3. Older girl and a boy.
So that was so you flipped your first asset.
It wasn't even real estate, right? It was just like was an item. It was like flipping a car. But yeah, that got me going basically.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So that got me onto the trailer scene. Yes. So one of the things I was trying to do is I worked at SRC when I moved back here because I needed to make money, and I was working full time there. So I was trying to buy things that were somewhat passive, like everybody was promising. So I got learning about mobile home parks, and it sounded good because you own just the land, so there's not like nights and weekends you don't have to go fix things, and so that idea intrigued me. So I took that $8,000 basically and bought a little 2-family in Canastota, flipped that, and then kind of kept doing that. One of the first trailer parks I bought was in Cortland, down in Locke, New York. Actually, it was like a 20-unit park I bought from an old farmer. And like went down there, sat at his kitchen table with his wife, and like we became friends. And one of those old stories. And I bought it from him for like 10% down. Like convinced him to hold some of the mortgage, and just relationships and trying to convince people I knew what the hell I was doing, which I didn't.
People are always reaching out to say, hey, well, how do I buy a storage facility? And I'm like, well, you have to learn how to sell. You have to sell when you're buying. You have to build a relationship with the prospective seller and have them trust you, because a lot of times that asset is something that they have held on to or built from the ground up, and they don't want to sell it to somebody unless they can trust that they're going to do what they want done with it and take care of it. So it's great to hear that. I've bought 2 storage facilities in the past years, and both of them had other people that were willing to buy, but they went with us because I spent the time to really understand what their needs were and kind of craft the deal to be conducive to their life. So I think that's cool that you shared that. So thanks.
That's good to hear. What I've learned is that doesn't change either. Like even downtown buildings, like there's a lot of emotional connection that owners have, and I've had success in like same things. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from this thing? Like, and a lot of them, especially this one that we're doing this new project in, the guy just had it for like 15 years. He had big plans to redevelop it, could never pull it off. So a big part of the sale was the same thing. Like, I think I can help you with this, all this stuff is still about like trying to do good and convince people that you're out to do good.
I think anything with business, if the 2 parties need to, or it's a little easier, or sometimes it happens because the 2 parties are aligned and you trust, and you want to do business with people that you trust and respect. And that story about Locke, New York, the husband and the wife, they probably said, might not be the price we want, but we trust Troy is going to do the right thing for the long term of what we did, our blood, sweat, and tears, and they took a leap of faith. Versus some guy came in with his guns ablazing, being like, I'm going to buy this from you, and whether you like it or not, and that guy's going to stand his ground and say, dude, you're not taking my land from me.
Yeah. No, Mike, that's something I've always admired about you. You're very good at, and that's just, like it's authentic. That's probably the word I'm looking for. Just like, this is it. And that always sells better than any sort of fake promises, even if they sound perfect. This is it. This is the reality. Maybe I can't offer you that, but here's what I can.
Yeah. People can tell when people are being honest and transparent.
Yes, sir.
And when they're not.
Yeah, it's weird how that's a very human skill that we don't always pay attention to, right? You can pick up on that stuff if you're paying attention. It was a fully occupied 20-unit mobile home park, right? So I bought that, and it was not so passive. There's all kinds of people issues I learned that come up in this world, but it was, it did work. It cash flowed, and it was a lot of work. I used to drive down there. It took me an hour to get there from where I lived at the time. And like drive down there twice a week after work and mow the lawn and get to know people. But it taught me the business. And from there, that became my thing. I kept buying more mobile home parks. But then I kind of morphed it into development of mobile home parks, which is where I found the most success related to the financial side of it, which was basically buying distressed mobile home parks that were in decent areas, but just not well managed or not run well. So one of the last ones I bought was a 90-unit park, and there was about 35 homes in there, but it had 90 lots, which were already set up and ready to go. So I bought it out of foreclosure from Sutton, and that's when I first met Louie up there. But that was like 20 years ago now. Basically the concept was buy these things, and I go on Craigslist and buy used mobile homes and move them in there and sell them, or rent them or do rent to owns and stuff, like, and not in a skeevy kind of way. Like it was like win-win-win. It felt good for a while because it was about basically people were able to buy houses. I do like 5-year financing deals or something that helped me because they paid the lot rent, which is what I really wanted. And then they got a house out of the deal. So it did that. I filled that park, and everything was sold on cap rate. So I just increased the cap rate and sold that to a guy on Manhattan. That was one of the last ones I did. Long story short, I think there was 4 altogether that I had. It's like 200 something, mobile home park units, and I had apartments as well. And I was still flipping houses when I could, but it was about that time that when I got burned out by the whole thing, that working full time. I was still working at SRC at that time.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this was when I was like 30.
I'm gonna let you pick one of these 2 things to answer, right?
Yeah.
Mike's more of our straight and narrow guy. He wants to know your resume. I wanna pick at the fun stuff, right? So, best trailer scenario, story, something that happened that was, and I can edit it so we're not going to be offensive, or coolest thing you found in a wall or in a foundation or something in an old home that you were flipping that was like I just watched something the other day where these guys found old whiskey from 1923. It was a bootlegger's house, and the wall was filled with these old bottles. So anything like that?
I want both stories, by the way.
Yeah. I've always looked for old stuff, so I've never found anything cool. That's a good question. Old newspapers and stuff like that are pretty cool. They're always gold. I'm always looking like, hey, maybe some old guys stuff in gold.
But no like bloody knife.
No, nothing. Not yet, anyway. Nothing that interesting. But and then the other question. Oh man, my brother-in-law, who was a little bit younger than me, just married my sister, and so he was like trying to be, like helpful in the family. So I made him like come help me clean out this trailer, and it was like disgusting. Like, we had to get the mattress out of this little tiny trailer. I was in the back and he was in the front, and he like got his foot caught, and I just kept pushing the mattress, and it ended up like rubbing against his face of this old disgusting mattress. And all I could hear was just screaming like a little girl. Like, it's touching me. I'll never forget that story. It was just because he was like, now he's part of the family, but back then,
yeah, that was his.
He just had to do everything I said.
His initiation.
Yeah, his hazing was that situation right there. Right?
So I don't know what kind of diseases he got, but we don't talk about it. So yeah, long story short, so that was like 20 when I was 22 to like 30. I was working at SRC full time, and then I got doing a lot of real estate on the side, and I asked them if I could work part-time to keep my benefits, so they were awesome, and they let me work 3 days a week, 3 10-hour days. It was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, kept my benefits, and we could talk about that place for a while, because I did learn a lot up there about like human condition. What I did up there was a position called change management, which was how to introduce change into the company with most psychological buy-in. So they were awesome. Like I got tons of training on the brain and psychology, and I got to learn a lot about, really motivating people. What a little more about the human condition than I knew in those days. So, but then when I hit like, I don't remember, 30, 31, my daughter was coming along, and I was just like done with it all. I was ready to quit both. So I did leave SRC, and then I also left the real estate industry for a year. I had kind of lined everything up to sell it that I had, and that's when I landed downtown. I landed at the Tech Garden in what was that, like 12 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, so I was like in this quarter life crisis where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like I had, I had all these grand goals to hit, be free was my whole goal. Like I didn't really care about money too much. I just wanted to be free. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to do my own thing. And I was fortunate enough then to be able to do that. But then I was like, well, now what do I do? And so I kind of took this year where I just, this is actually where all this stuff hatched from, but it took a year, and I just went to coffee with every single person I met. Maybe that's where I met you, Mike. I don't know.
But I'm thinking, yeah, when you said Tech Garden, I'm like, that's probably where we met.
Yeah. Somebody told me about the Tech Garden, and they had a co-working space that 40 Below had started in the back, and I could sit there. So I went and I got a membership, and I sat in the back of the Tech Garden. I met Seth Mulligan. He introduced me to 10 people, and those 10 people introduced me to 10 other people. And over the course of this year, I probably went through at least a coffee every day with somebody. So I probably met like 200-300 people, that I would never have met. And it was the most transformative thing that happened to me, like business-wise for sure, because it just pointed me in so many directions. It was awesome.
You consciously made decisions. I'm gonna have a cup of coffee with something every day, or is it just?
Yep.
Walk me through it.
Pretty much just like that. So I had some awesome mentors that had started some business locally, and they were coaching me. And they started. They were like, I'm gonna introduce you to this guy and this guy and this guy. So there was a part of me that was looking to start something. So I did want to surround myself intentionally with people doing that stuff.
During that year that you met a couple hundred people,
yeah,
you were making the city smaller each and every day.
Yeah, dude, I think about that a lot. I call it the tree of connections and how they've changed my life. So like my partner today was 10 people ago. So I got introduced to somebody who introduced me to somebody else, who introduced me to somebody else, who introduced me to somebody else, who introduced me to somebody else. And then on the 10th person, there was Joe, my partner, who I never would have met if I didn't meet that first person 10 people ago. There's so many stories like that, I think, that I have. I'm sure everybody does. But to get to these like cool, relationships that are extremely meaningful or whatever, like you have to do the work 10 years ago or do the work 5 years ago and just watch where stuff goes.
Or never stop doing the work.
Or never stop doing the work. Yeah, because that's a great point. Where's it going to be in 5 years from now? Who are you guys going to introduce me to? That's maybe you're the end game. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it all stops here. We're the coolest people you're ever going to meet, Troy. Boy, if that's the case, you better have a few more beers.
I was going to say, you might need the refill.
I do.
Man, okay, so yes, thank you. All right, now we got a vein. I like it. So, man, it's powerful.
The better part of that story is where it led. Like, as I was in this like spiritual phase too of my life, where I was like searching for awareness or something, and it led me to a lot of like Buddhist philosophies, and I was trying to be aware and pay attention and like really be present with people. And in doing that, I analyzed it as I was doing it. And what I watched was how helpful it was for me. So like this weird, surreal experience where I'm going through it, I'm meeting people, they're fascinating, and I'm learning a lot. And then I'm like watching my emotions and watching how it's benefiting me and how I'm like, wow, this is really helpful. Why doesn't everybody do this? Out of that thought process led me to Common Space, and the point of this place was trying to replicate it for people, what I had experienced in that 1 year.
Not to sidetrack, but the conversations we've had about digging in with your tenants, right? And sharing their stories, and you being a guy who had such an amazing experience from doing you proactively, you sought out. It wasn't like happened to be I had coffee that week. You sought out people and you consciously went and did that and had some amazing, could recreate that, right? In even the most beautiful space, right? You guys have done an amazing job of creating the most aesthetically pleasing space to sit down and have a cup of coffee. I did it with you the other day. And mind you, there may be a few more masks in the room than there was when you were doing it back in the day. But man, that's so cool. I'm intrigued. I'd love to be able to see that go another step further, where you can really see where those connections have led. And I mean, you said your partner was one of. You said that somehow your partner came from that.
yeah, he came from that tree somewhere, and it's I can trace it a couple people back. One of the coolest things out of that experience was that nobody said no. So like, and I try to convince people of that. Like, I asked hundreds of, and I still do it today. And Mike, you do it. Like, I asked hundreds of people to go to coffee. I don't know. I can't remember anyone saying no. Maybe there's one or two, but that's their issue. But like, no, like anyone. I think there's, and that's again the point of Common Space, was like, how can I make this extremely comfortable way to prove to people that people want to connect? You think you're a burden asking someone to sit down, talk and tell me about yourself, but most people enjoy it. Most people enjoy connecting with others. When you're in the majority that much, there's got to be, again, like a way to bring down the psychological and social norms that prevent us from doing that. And again, that's what we're trying to do here.
Troy, I mean, I've said this numerous times on social media, and that is, you create opportunity. You've got to put yourself in play. Yeah. And asking somebody to go have coffee, you're putting yourself in play. You don't know where that's going to lead. And you had 10 people for coffee, which led to you're an amazing partner in business today. And, you just got to put yourself in play.
On your website, I see that there's a video there, and it says, how do you make a neighborhood in a building? Yeah. And I think you guys have a pretty good recipe for that. So walk us through that.
Again, this is back to my own look at the world, and may or may not be true, but the way I see it is that, again, most people do want to connect. It's just not socially acceptable to do so. Like, it's not comfortable to, when you're in a normal apartment building, to see somebody in the hall and say, hey, I'm Troy, how you doing? You want to have coffee? And like, that's my neighbor. It seems like weird and that's just awkward. But
awkward.
Yeah. So we intentionally set out to create this place that eliminated that, and a lot of it really has to just do with branding and making it okay for people to say hi. When we created Common Space, all our messaging, all our branding was, hey, when you live here, you're going to know your neighbors, and we're going to do things that ensure that, and we're going to design the space in a way that you interact with people. That isn't a long hallway, it's a common space right out your door or something like that. And we're going to have all these areas where you can connect. And what happened was, the space was different, but when people moved in, they acted differently. So just because, there's this psychological dance in their head where they would run into somebody in the hall and they'd say, hey, they're here and I'm here. We both signed up for this. So they must want to talk to me and they must want to connect. So you'd see, just all kinds of those intersections happening of people sitting down on the couch and talking and, getting to know your neighbors just because we kind of said it was okay. That's all it took. I don't claim any more credit than that. It's just than some words on a website and some words in a tour, right. And the way we talk about it or what created it. It's very self-fulfilling.
Yeah, because you don't want it to feel like it's forced, right? When you're trying to force people, you want it to come naturally. And there's probably a part of you where you're walking by and you see people talking, like, oh, you probably stare a little too long. Just like they're doing it. You don't want to be the weird parent, the helicopter land, right?
Exactly.
Pete and I lived this in the spring. We created, what we're doing right now, Troy, and that's on Zoom. But it became evident that people were craving interaction, and they were like, absolutely, I'll jump on a call with you guys next week. It was way before it was become what it is, but it was just people wanted to interact. Yeah. And then we said, all right, let's have an event outside, because by July, some people hadn't literally interacted, with friends or colleagues in person, and they were craving it. So, the human element, and this better than I do, we all, for the most part, there's introverted people, but most of us want to go meet and interact with fellow humans.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go give a big high five or a handshake. I mean, I miss that.
First impression, you appear to be a conservative, kind of reserved guy, right? And perfect. What's that?
I'm an introvert for sure.
Yeah, Mike. our guy is an introvert who went out to coffee with 300 people in a year.
Yeah, right.
I don't. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, no, here's my answer to that. None of us are anything, right? There's these labels that they're thrown out there, and they're just kind of dumb and made up. You know, like we're all different every second of the day. So like sometimes I'm super outgoing and want to go out. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes you guys do. Some people more than others, but we're all gray, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We're all somewhere in the middle. And that's one of the tricks of what is hard to create about this space. Is like to convince people it's not like this weird commune where you're always public and you're always hanging out. It's definitely not that, but it's also not a place where you're 100% private all the time. Always, can't get to know anybody. It's gray. It's somewhere in the middle. It's whatever you want it to be, right? For some people, I want to connect on a Tuesday because I just got a new job, and some people, I want to talk once a year, and it works for both. But I think we're all like that. So introvert, extrovert, I don't know. I don't know where I lie on that spectrum, but it depends what day you catch me. Right now I'm drinking, so I'm on the
right.
side.
It also depends on the topic, right? And the situation and where people's comfort level is and what their emotional strengths are, their insecurities associated with whatever. But you get someone talking about what they're passionate about, or you get them in a setting where they don't feel stuffy or they don't feel like they're having to be on, which from my experience, seeing your space, and I've kind of seen the quicker tour. I didn't go where I was renting it, but you kind of walked us around. And to me, you kind of provide it's like a buffet of human platform to interact with others. You can, if you want to be over here playing a game, you can. If a library setting, to me, like to that's just going to be aesthetically and soothing to somebody who needs that at that point, whatever they're going through with their life. So I think it's pretty cool what you guys are doing. And I like your take on things. It's pretty cool. Maybe is it the Buddha influence, or did you go away from that thought process as you got older?
I'm still very much non-denominational, but more towards Eastern philosophy, I'd say.
So, you threw me a curveball. You kind of for years you kind of hang your hat on the fact that as a business development person, you try to read somebody and understand who they are and what their needs are based on, and sometimes it takes a couple conversations to get there. And it worked. You threw me a curveball a little bit with the way you look at the world. It wasn't my predetermined idea of what you were about and how you would view it. And I like the coffee. I like the tree of connections, and I gotta give that some more thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's always the case, and that's the hard part, like getting to the real person, and you'll never get there. I don't even know the real me. You can't possibly know me. So, but really like to get to this meaningful conversation, and that's hard to do, and it has to be the right setting and different for everybody. But like maybe walking into a big networking meeting would be super uncomfortable. It'd be for me anyway, and it would be hard for me to like be open and authentic.
Yeah.
And,
you know why? Because that setting isn't natural. There's only a certain select number of people who can sit in front of a room and even talk to them, let alone be who they actually are, as opposed to who they think those people need them to be. So your approach, the networking group is a shotgun. You're a sniper, my friend. You sat down and had intricate conversations at a genuine level with 300 people.
Yeah.
That one of them turned into your business partner. So tell me a little bit about that. Partners are usually, they say are for dancing. You don't look like you're a dancer. I suck at dancing. Are you a dancer? Some secret that you're gonna talk about? Were you on like a reality show, dance or something?
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, good. I didn't think so. But how are you? How does that work with you guys? That what's the dynamic that works? That you obviously have a recipe that's been gaining some traction and momentum, and just give us a little shed a little light into that.
Yeah. So I've had quite a few partners over the years, but it's and we're all still extremely good friends, but we're not always good partners because we're so alike. So like either skill wise or motivation wise, and so we still hang out all the time, but we don't partner on deals anymore because of that, because we weren't a good complement skills wise. But with Joe Cisco, who's my partner, we really cranked up Common Space like 5 years ago. We're completely aligned on all the big stuff, like, you know, morally and ethically, and, you know, our long-term motivations around, you know, what we want this thing to be. But we're completely different at a detailed level, like skill-wise. He is extremely good at all the details, like making this place. When you walk in here, it's all him. Like all this place looks the way it does because of him, and how good he is at, like, you know, I'll call it manipulating the human condition, but like really making people feel a certain way when they walk into a space, and that's all him. So like, I'm not the detail guy. I'm not good at that. I don't enjoy that. I like people. I like interacting with people. He's really good at design, really good at branding. He created our, you know, all our branding, all our website, all our, together we came up with the words. But, so the success is in the difference of skills, I think. And I'm sure you guys have heard that a million times. I've heard it, but I just never found it. I think the coolest thing about our relationship is how serendipitous the finding was. Like, I was always looking for someone like that since I was 22, and I was looking too hard. You know, I was like, God, I gotta have that. Everybody, you know, Warren Buffett has his guy, and everybody's got their guy, and it's it only came when I wasn't looking. You know, when I finally started drinking my own Kool-Aid and paying attention. Quick story about how I really met Joe the final time was, I was working with the Allen Foundation when they were just starting to think about building their building over here in Slime Street. And they asked me to help, you know, like volunteer, help them develop. And I quickly told them they didn't need me, but I will help them because they're good people, extremely good people. And I'm trying to be a good person, so I thought it was a good fit. We sat in these interviews with all the architects that they were interviewing. And Joe, who I had met previously, but was a partner on almost every one of these architectural proposals. Like, they all wanted him to be their branding guy. And I was like, man, who is just Joe guy? I gotta learn more about him. So like, just by sitting in those meetings and like paying attention, and I didn't even wanna, we didn't touch on this phase a lot, but throughout my years, I've been in and out of real estate. Like, I've always get to this point where like, I don't want to do anything else. I'm done. And I'm almost at that point right now, but like, I'm done. I don't want to do any more real estate. And I was at that point right then. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing more real estate. But then Joe like kept coming up, and I was like, let me ask Joe to go to coffee, like I normally do. I asked Joe to go to coffee, and we just like hit it off. And like, at the end of the thing, I was like, hey man, you want to help me do more common spaces? And he was like, definitely. And didn't even care how that was going to work or how we were going to get money to do it. He was like, I'm in. And it was weird, just like that quick. But
through my business development career, including today, I think Mike talked to you a little bit, you know, you'd asked about Joe coming on, and we'd already done our initial kind of like dig in to see, you know, who you were and what you had going on. And in that process, you know, you'd mentioned Joe being involved in web design and different things of that nature for some of the other companies around town. So I took a look, and man, his stuff is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Yeah. I don't say that about, you know, you see a lot of websites, but they all kind of look, you know, have a similar, his stuff stands out. It's very impressive, and it's, he captured, like you said, he has a way of capturing it, the image of what they, either what they want or what they want people to want. Yeah. That makes sense.
And he's, you know, he's got a weird niche around like branding real estate projects, which is fairly unique. But I mean, to his credit, like we have a good product here, but we were fully leased before they were done. Like, we had 59 units, we had 31 we did at Montgomery Street, and then 59 here, fully leased, both of those projects before we opened. Like, that's very hard to do when you can't see the product, but like, it's all because he creates these visuals that are like, this is exactly what it's going to look like, and this is the layouts and like so much detail. It's so valuable.
So he's an architect by trade, correct?
Correct. He went to school to be a design architect. Yeah.
Okay. and then he
It's a
just
little bit
happens.
different than a traditional architect where you like draw up stuff. He's more on the design side.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that, I hope, Troy, that the four of us can get together. I would love to just meet Joe and interact with Joe. And I was blown away when I did a little recon today and got on that website, and Pete's texting me being like, this is incredible. And I'm like, holy crap, I had no idea.
Yeah, he's taught me about everything I'm supposed to hate.
Right.
I didn't even know I wasn't supposed to like stuff.
And then it was near and dear to us as well because we did a mobile meeting with David Reed from Reed Business Law at Jacobson's and the Dietz building, and so we took some time and spent some time in there, and had a lot of different shots of the building, and it was just again, that made me, it kind of pinged on my radar because we had just been in there not too long ago. So kind of cool to see that. Did you see the video? Oh, is that the one I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so
I love that. I love the concept of and especially during these times, like it's hard to go to coffee with people, so you gotta improvise.
Yeah, so it's funny. I said so I got my my mug that I have to drink left-handed on screen because if you go right-handed, it's like our trophy from our first networking event. But we're not too fancy. But I'd like to actually get more of these. And part of what we do is maybe before you come on or a guest comes on, we send them this coffee mug with some stuff in it that's reflective of the area, or maybe it's a thank you note for just ahead of time for investing the time, and then maybe that's our way to virtually share a cup of coffee. It may not be the same flavor, but it's the same cup, if that makes sense.
You can put beer in it.
I don't care. You drink pudding out of the damn thing if you want.
You're the one that called the 3:30 meeting.
The only other thing I wanted to hear, and I know we're Mike, are you good on time?
I'm okay for a couple minutes.
Troy, you good for 5 more?
Yeah.
So we talked about your business partner, but there's a way more important partner than that. And I'd like to know a little bit about the person at home that's hanging out with you.
Yeah, she's a saint, man. We have 2 little kids who, when my daughter came along 8 years ago, she was working at Legal Aid. So she's a lawyer, but a pro bono lawyer. So she was always a better person than me. And still is.
What's her name?
Sally.
Sally.
Yeah. I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up. But she, she was doing really great work, for Legal Aid, and then went on and did like assigned counsel kind of stuff. But when my daughter came along, she liked it, but she never really loved, I guess, the job side of it. So she decided to stay home with Sam, and kind of stuck. So she enjoys that side, which I don't blame her. It makes it extremely productive, which I couldn't do. This whole like raising a kid and 2 kids and making them into beautiful little people, which I like to say I help with, but she's definitely the driver behind.
How much feedback or influence do you get from Sally in decisions associated with common space and things of that nature?
It's funny, none anymore, which is probably not good. So we've been together a long time, and she doesn't have the risk tolerance that I have, and I always have a high one. So even way back in the first trailer days, she was always questioning, I don't know, that's probably my idea. That's and so there was a lot of the naysaying for a long time, but after a while, she was like, okay, maybe I can trust this guy. I usually come up with 10 crazy ideas, and I never implement any of them, and so she kind of listens to me rant for a while, and then when I do select something, she's usually pretty comfortable with that time. So she's a very good listener. She doesn't say yes or no. She just kind of listens and lets me go through my shit.
Isn't that funny? Everyone thinks in different ways, right? And so everyone learns in different ways. And my wife and I talk about, I will literally talk the ears off a brass monkey about an idea that I have, and my wife will just want to pull her ears off because I think out loud. Yeah. She doesn't. She has to sit in silence and think about what she's thinking about. And I'm like, well, what do you think? What do you think? She's like, I don't know. You haven't shut up. I can't think. Yeah. And so it's just funny how different people look at the the thought process different ways. I talk it out, right, Mike? I think out loud. It's a cliche thing, but as I talk, it kind of works through the process, good, bad, and different. And some of these ideas I have are hideous, as I'm sure yours have been too. But you know what? Allen Iverson was the highest scoring guy in the NBA for a long time, right? It wasn't because he didn't shoot a lot. He shot and shot and shot.
Yeah.
Missed a lot, but
still
scored more than everybody else because he took those chances. So I'm not a sports guy, but I always use that analogy because you're never going to know unless you try, and you just got to
keep shooting.
Yeah, that's it, baby. So, but yeah, sorry to steal your thought on your wife, but it just crossed over with kind of, I saw a similarity with how you and I think, scary as that may be. So, Mike, I'll let you wrap it up.
All right. Fantastic conversation, Troy. Thank you for sharing all that. I've heard bits and pieces over the year, but never, to that level. So thank you.
So thank you so much for investing the time. We really do see it as an investment. I know there's some guy, some gal somewhere in a college dorm or on a computer screen at some point that will see this and go, hey, you know what? He did it with no money. I can do it with no money. You never see someone else try and do it and show that it doesn't always take money and there's creative ways to do that. So I think that inspiration is cool. So thank you for sharing your time. I really appreciate it. So,
thank you so much, man. I'm honored. You guys are doing awesome things.
Thank you.
I'm a fan now. I will follow. I'm bad at social media, Pete, but I'm learning.
All right.
Next time I'll be interviewing you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.